What if I told you the greatest footballer from Africa might not be who you think? Not Drogba, not Eto'o, not Salah. In fact, this player's story is so extraordinary, it forces us to ask an almost unthinkable question. Could Africa's true football GOAT actually stand above Messi himself? Now that I've gotten your attention, let's dive into the legend, the struggles, the triumphs, and the legacy of the man who carried an entire continent's pride on his shoulders. You see, football was global by the 1970s and 1980s, but Africa was treated as an afterthought. European clubs didn't trust African players. Scouts rarely looked south of the Mediterranean. Even when African players shone in tournaments, they were dismissed as too raw, too physical, or simply not intelligent enough to adapt to the tactical demands of Europe. That prejudice was thick. The World Cup even reinforced these stereotypes. African teams were almost always expected to fail in the group stages. The 1982 World Cup was a turning point when Algeria shocked the world by beating West Germany. But even then, politics intervened. The disgrace of the John, when West Germany and Austria played out a suspicious result to eliminate Algeria, they robbed Africa of its deserved place in the knockouts. By the late 80s, only a few African stars were breaking through. Roger Milla became an icon of Cameroon, scoring at the 1990 World Cup at 38 years old. Rabah Majer won the European Cup with Porto in 1987, but still these guys were exceptions. African footballers were respected for flair and passion, but not taken seriously as true contenders for world football's highest honors. And then came a boy from Monrovia, Liberia. George Weah was born on October 1st, 1966 in Claude Town, a crowded community on the outskirts of Monrovia, Liberia's capital. At that time, Liberia was struggling economically and Claude Town was one of its poorest areas, and Weah grew up in a small wooden shack shared with over a dozen of siblings and cousins. Like most children there, football wasn't a luxury, it was an escape. The open streets and empty lots were his first stadiums. He played barefoot, often with makeshift balls made from socks, with plastic bags, learning balance, close control, and composure, long before he ever stepped on grass. By 1985, at just 18, Weah joined the mighty Barrolle, one of Liberia's most successful clubs. It was his first time playing in front of real crowds, and he adjusted instantly. He scored 7 goals in 10 league matches, helping the Barrolle secure the Liberian Premier League title and a domestic cup. Just a year later, in 1986, Weah transferred to Invincible 11, the team every Liberian youngster dreamed of playing for. The expectations were high, the stadiums were louder, and the pressure was real. But Weah didn't just meet the challenge, he dominated. He scored 24 goals in 23 appearances, becoming the top scorer in the Liberian League and earning the Liberian Footballer of the Year award. By 20, Weah was a national star. Local newspapers began calling him the Moravian Miracle. Fans filled the stadiums just to see his runs and overhead kicks. But in Liberia, ball dreams often ended at the border. There were no international scouts visiting local matches, nor highlight reels, and no agent was promoting African talent. So despite his performances, Weah's name was virtually unknown outside West Africa until one day, by chance, fate changed everything. In 1987, during a CAF club competition, Weah's performances for the Invincible 11 drew the attention of a Cameroonian scout. His stamina and power impressed Tonnerre Calara Club Yaoundé, one of Cameroon's top sides, known for producing national talent and exporting African stars to Europe. Weah joined Tonnerre Yaoundé later that year. It was his first professional contract abroad, and the jump from Monrovia to Yaoundé was massive. During his time at Cameroon, Weah caught the attention of Claude, the French coach managing the Cameroonian national team. Leroy had seen Weah in league games and immediately recognized that his athleticism, his ball control, football intelligence were far beyond the local level. Leroy later said he was raw, but what he did instinctively was special. You didn't teach that. Leroy contacted Wenger, then the manager of AS Monaco in France. Leroy told him, "There's a Liberian in Cameroon you need to see. Trust me, this one is different." Wenger didn't have the luxury of modern scouting footage or agents sending clips, he trusted Leroy's judgment and decided to take a chance without even seeing Weah play live. He arranged for a short-term trial in Monaco. When Weah arrived in France in 1988, he was 22 years old, barely spoke French, and had never trained in European conditions before. But in his first few sessions, his speed, strength, and composure stunned the Monaco coaching staff. Wenger didn't hesitate. He signed Weah permanently from Tonare UND for around $2,000, a small fee that would later become one of the most remarkable bargains in football history. Wenger even said, "If I didn't sign this boy, I will regret it." And soon, everyone saw why. In his first season, Weah scored 14 goals in all competitions, instantly becoming Monaco's top forward. French defenders had never seen anything like him. A 6-foot powerhouse with a winger space, a striker who could leap, dribble, and finish with either foot. Weah's style was raw but efficient, explosive acceleration, long strides, and instinctive finishing. Wenger refined his decision-making, positioning, and off-ball movement, turning him into a complete striker. Between 1989 and 1992, George Weah wasn't just growing, he was evolving. Each season at Monaco revealed a different layer of his brilliance. In his first season, he featured in 24 matches and scored 14 goals, helping Monaco reach the French Cup final that year in his first full European campaign. And this was just the beginning. Then came the following year, the year where lifted his first major European trophy, the Coupe de France. He was unstoppable, scoring 18 times in 36 matches. For Monaco fans, he had become more than just a player. He was the heartbeat of the attack. By 1992, Weah had scored over 70 goals for Monaco in all competitions. During this period, Weah also began representing Liberia internationally. Despite limited resources, he became the nation's leading figure in football. He debuted for Liberia in 1986, but his influence grew massively once he moved to Europe, helping fund training camps and travel expenses for his teammates out of his own pocket. When Paris Saint-Germain came knocking in 1992, Monaco couldn't hold him any longer. Wenger himself reportedly told him, "It's time for you to show Europe what Africa can do." Weah left Monaco that summer, having scored 66 goals in 149 matches, winning one trophy, and transforming from an unknown Liberia striker into one of the most feared forwards in France. Wenger reportedly said again, "Not only was he one of the greatest players I coached, he was one of the greatest men." And in 1992, he made the move to Paris Saint-Germain, a rising club with big ambitions and deep pockets. PSG wanted to dominate France, and Weah was their weapon. He signed for Paris Saint-Germain, but this wasn't the PSG of today. No Dembele, no Hakim, no Qatari billions. This was the gritty, fiery PSG of the 90s. The club built to challenge the might of Olympique Marseille, France's football empire at that time. The rivalry was fierce, emotional, and political. It was Paris versus the South. It was money versus old dominance. And right in the middle of it all stood George Weah, and then he exploded. He hit the ground running. In his first season, Weah scored 16 goals in all competitions, powering PSG to a second-place finish in Ligue 1. From the moment he stepped on the pitch, Paris knew they had something different. Where was it a striker you could predict? 1 minute he was wrestling with defenders to win a header. The next is briefly past 3 players like a winger. That season, he led PSG to victory in the French Cup. The next season, Weah was unstoppable. He led PSG to the first Ligue 1 title in 8 years, only their second in history. Week after week, he delivered power, poise, precision. He was no longer just a great African player, he was one of the best players in Europe. His presence shaped PSG's entire identity, from a talented French side to an European powerhouse. When PSG had Weah up front, they believed they could beat anyone. Then came the season that changed everything, the UEFA Champions League campaign. Weah wasn't just scoring goals, he was writing poetry with his feet, headers, volleys, outrageous solo runs. His every strike seemed to defy logic. He finished as the Champions League top scorer with 7 goals, leading PSG into the tournament and sending shockwaves across Europe. Even against Europe best Bayern Munich, Barcelona, Real Madrid, Weah didn't shrink. He thrived. He wasn't just playing football again, he was dominating it. And as the lights of Paris glowed brighter, somewhere in Italy, the giants were watching. Clubs from Serie A, the toughest league in the world at that time, took notice. Then one club made the move that changed football forever: AC Milan. In the summer of 1995, AC Milan manager Fabio Capello wanted something different. His Milan team was already filled with legends: Franco Baresi, Paolo Maldini, De Sailly, Boban, Roberto Donati, but they needed unpredictability up front. When Paris Saint-Germain agreed to sell George Weah for around €6 million, the move raised eyebrows across Italy. Serie A at that time was the toughest league in the world. Defenders like Alessandro Nesta, Ciro Ferreira, Beppe Borghini, and Paolo Maldini himself were nightmares for striker. Could the Liberian striker really handle this pressure? Weah answered immediately. In his first season, he scored 11 Serie A goals in 26 appearances, helping Milan claim the Scudetto, their 15th league title. He also scored crucial goals in Europe, including 2 in the UEFA Champions League group stage, showing that his PSG form was no fluke. That same year, the football world crowned him the king. He achieved what no African player has ever done and what no one has done since: the FIFA World Player of the Year, the Ballon d'Or, and the African Player of the Year. Weah became the first and only African to win the Ballon d'Or, defeating global icons like Jordan Klinsmann, Jaren Litmanen, and Paolo Maldini in the vote. He was the bridge between continents, a player who had conquered Africa, France, and now Italy. That triumph wasn't based on reputation or hype. It was earned during the 1994 to 1995 season with PSG. Before his Milan transfer, Weah had scored 16 goals in all competitions, including a record-breaking 7 goals in the UEFA Champions League, finishing as the tournament's top scorer. By the time he arrived in Milan, Europe already knew who he was. Italy just hadn't seen anything like him yet. Between 1995 and 2000, George Weah made 114 appearances, scored 46 goals, and won 2 Serie A titles in 1995-1996 and 1998-1999 season. His 5 years with Milan would be remembered as the peak of his playing career, a period where he stood shoulder to shoulder with the greatest forwards of his generation: Batistuta, Baggio, Shevchenko, Del Piero, Ronaldo Nazario, and on many nights, he outshone them. By the late 1990s, George Weah was no longer just a football star. He was a global icon, carrying the pride of the entire continent. But for Liberia, he was much more than that. He was hope itself. His country had been torn apart by years of civil war. While Weah was conquering European stadiums, Monrovia was collapsing, families displaced, schools destroyed, and streets unsafe. But through it all, Weah never turned away. He founded Liberia's national team, the Lone Stars, almost single-handedly. Flights, training, equipment, even players' wages came out from his own pocket. He captained them, he managed the team, and sometimes he even paid referees just to keep the game alive. In 1996, Liberia came agonizingly close to qualifying for the World Cup, a near miracle for a nation at war. Though they fell short, their performance ignited something powerful: belief. For the first time, Liberians had a reason to smile, to share, and to dream. But while he was fighting for his country, Weah was still dazzling on the pitch. After his legendary years with AC Milan, he went on to play for Chelsea in the 2000s, joining the Premier League mid-season and immediately winning the FA Cup, scoring on his debut. Then came a short but impactful spell at Manchester City, followed by Marseille in France and Al Jazeera in the UAE, where he ended his club career in 2003. Even in his final years, he remained an admired figure, a leader on and off the field, respected for his discipline and humility. But while his football boots were nearing retirement, another dream was beginning to take shape. Weah looked at Liberia, still broken, still struggling, and made a decision few expected. He would trade a football pitch for politics, not for fame, not for money, but because his people needed someone who actually cared. In 2005, just 2 years after retiring, George Weah ran for president of Liberia, a football legend stepping into the rough and unforgiving world of politics. He lost narrowly to Helen Johnson, Africa's first elected female head of state. Many doubted he would return, but Weah didn't quit. He went back to school, earning degrees in the US and Liberia, studying governance and management. A decade later, in 2017, he ran again, but this time he won by a landslide. The boy from the slums of Claude, who once played barefoot on dusty fields, was now President George Weah. His inauguration wasn't just a political event, it was a moment of global symbolism. From Ballon d'Or winner to head of state, he had achieved what no athlete ever done. As president, Weah focused on rebuilding Liberian schools, roads, and youth programs. He continued his humanitarian projects, championed education, and pushed for unity in a country still healing from decades of division. He wasn't perfect, no leader is, but his journey from football to leadership remained one of the most extraordinary in human history. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. Is he greater than Messi? On paper, the answer seems obvious. Messi has 8 Ballon d'Ors, 1 World Cup, 4 Champions League titles, over 800 career goals. Weah has 1 Ballon d'Or, 2 Serie A titles, and fewer than 300 career goals. If greatness was about numbers alone, Messi wins easily. But football has never just been numbers. Messi played for Barcelona, Argentina, PSG, superpowers built to win. He had world-class teammates, world-class facilities, and a stable football system behind him from the start. Weah had none of that. He came from Claude, a Liberian slum. He fought through wars, racism, and economic chaos. He didn't play football, he fought to exist in football. Messi's legacy is perfection, flawless skill, unshakable consistency, and an artist at work. Weah's legacy is pioneering, the man who opened the door for an entire continent. Think about it. Before Weah, no African player had won the Ballon d'Or. Europe saw African talent as raw, unrefined, incomplete. Then came Weah, the first African not just to compete, but to dominate, to score goals against Europe's best, to lift trophies with AC Milan, to make African football respected. Without George Weah, would there have been a DJ Drogba at Chelsea, a Samuel Eto'o at Barcelona, a Mohamed Salah or Sadio Mane shining in the Premier League? Maybe, but maybe not that soon. Weah changed the perception. It was proof that greatness could come from anywhere, even from a war-torn street in West Africa. So, greater than Messi? In trophies, no. In impact, symbolism, and what it stood for, the debates become far less one-sided. Messi's greatness is inspiring. Weah's greatness is transformative, and maybe that's the real point. You don't have to score Messi to be legendary. Some players change the game, others change the game itself. George Weah did both.